Okay, so this is the review of the iFlight CineBee. It's I think a 75mm HD CineBee, I guess. Okay, first of all, the motors. They're 1103 10,000 kV. The props are 40mm 4-blade HQ props. These are the ones that everyone recommends to get smooth footage. I haven't used the other ones. They're little gem fan tri-blades. I probably will test those, but at the moment I'm really testing out the HD quality. It's got a little iFlight stack. It's got a f4 in the middle there, VTX at the top. It goes between 25 and 200, I think. A little 4-in-1 speed controller at the bottom, 12 amp 4-in-1. It'll take batteries 2S or 3S, probably up to 450 3S, maybe slightly larger, but you're limited with the size of the top deck. The strap's a little bit puny, but anyway. What else? Oh yeah, we have the VTX is hooked up with a wee IPX connector to a linear whip, which is fine. I've been totally happy with that so far. It's inserted through this 3D mount that holds the FrSky XM Plus, which came with it. I've also glued on these little tubes at the back because they fall off almost instantly, so I just glued using some Yoo-Hoo pour just the insert there, so they haven't fallen off since. Comes with the XT30 connector, which is fine. Oh, there's a hot tub on. Okay, maybe just move. It comes with Betaflight 3.5.7 on board, and they've got custom PIDs. I've left it on the default settings and flown it that way, and quite happy with the way it's flown. It has the Calyx Turtle camera on the base here. Let's see. There's a special plate to cover up the Calyx Turtle board, and you can see inside there, just underneath, that's where you insert the SD card. This little plastic clip it's good for retaining the card in case it ejects during a flight, but it's very difficult to use to get a card safely into the slot before it clamps back down and snaps the card, which has happened to me once so far. This is the 300 3S that I've been using. It's too small. It really needs to be oh, it's a high voltage one. I didn't realise that. I've been charging them as regular batteries. Anyway, I'll need to get an adapter to charge those on my high voltage charger. I only have XT60 connection for the high voltage charger, so okay. These are just the 2S ones that I got. I'm quite happy flying with these 2S batteries. They give a slightly longer flight time, but it's still, you're talking about 2 to 3 minutes. 3 minutes is really pushing it, but you can get close to 3 minutes with them. So I didn't put any Velcro on. I just got these little rubber dots off another quadcopter, and it seems to sit there quite nicely. It doesn't slide about. The little strap is it's a little bit weak, but you can torque it down. It's pretty good. It sometimes comes off if you have a little crash, so and then I just tuck the little balance lead in between the power connector, and it stops it going into the props. So, let's see, that's good. Okay, there's also this little OSD thing that comes with it, so you can control what's happening on your Calyx Turtle, and they've left a little adapter for it, so you can just plug it in, which is pretty handy. Word of warning, you can only use the OSD whenever you don't have the card plugged in, because if it has the card in and you power up, it immediately starts recording by default. So just take the card out whenever you want to mess with the OSD, and there's some quite good settings in there. The Calyx Turtle that came with this, it had old firmware on it. I'm not sure what the firmware version was, but I had some problems with it freezing and sort of pixelating strangely and almost going into slow motion. It also had some corruption in the upper right corner of the screen, which hopefully I've got some sample footage showing now. Then I found an update for it on the RC Groups forum, and it brought the update to January 2019, and since then I have found the camera's far more reliable. I was surprised how different the camera was. The corruption in the corner had gone. There was also like a dust speck that was showing up on the older version of the firmware. It had disappeared too. So maybe it vibrated loose, I don't know, but it whatever's happened, I'm very happy with this update. It's excellent. Okay, so we get these little tiny props. These are supposedly they're okay, but I don't think they're very good for filming. I think there's a lot more jello when you fly with these. To combat the jello, I've bought this little Calyx ND filter. I think it's ND8, and it makes the footage look a lot better whenever it's sunny, but it looks a lot darker when it's overcast, which it normally is in Northern Ireland. So what else do I have to say? Okay, what else in the box? Got these stickers. Got some replacement stickers for around the fronts, because presumably that's where it's going to break first, these plastic ducts. So I've seen them available. There's a link in the description. I think they're a little bit high priced because it's the first thing that's going to go. I think they're about £8, maybe £9, a little bit much. You also get an extra strap, or an extra 2 straps, which is good. One's slightly longer, I think. Yeah, so there's a short one and a long one. So I didn't know they were different lengths. That's useful to know. You also get a bag of the little screws. These are used to secure all the plastic pieces. I was a little bit dubious at first, but none of them have fallen out. I did tighten everything before I flew, but you'd sort of expect a few of these to fall out, but no, they're okay. These also extra screws for your motors and for the top plate and bottom plate. That's pretty much everything that was in the box. What do I think of it? It's very small. It's very small. It allows me to fly places I wouldn't normally risk in a larger quad, even a 3-inch. It's less powerful. It's not really aimed at flying acro, although it will do sort of limited acro. You can't do any real diving. The ducts prevent you from doing any serious diving. There's a bit of bobbling and stuff whenever it's windy, so ideally you fly indoors in a large open space, or when it's perfectly calm, then you can get a bit of acro going, and it's quite nice. For proximity stuff indoors, it's probably advisable to use the angle mode instead of acro mode. It sort of gets a little bit too difficult in acro mode. You need a bit more space. Camera quality is quite good, and this is my second Calyx Turtle. The first one didn't work at all, so this is really my first experience with it. So I've glued on the ND filter to the camera, and it's holding pretty well. It doesn't vibrate, but if I hadn't used glue, it would have fallen off in the first flight. So it's not that well realized, this ND filter. It fits, but it doesn't stay on. There needs to be a way of making it stay on. Sort that out, I think. What else do I have to say? Okay, there's the two 3D printed mounts. So there's the one for the camera. You can get a bit of angle into it. That's about the maximum you can get before you're sort of. You don't want it this 3D printed mount to touch the ducts, because the vibration will come through into the camera. So you've got to keep a gap, a tiny gap. Let's see, just there. But normally flying like just with the camera square on is better for the footage. It's just more fun to fly like that, as you know, with a bit more acro and speed. Yeah, I quite like flying that way. I really like it. I haven't actually broken anything yet, and I've had quite a few dumps. When I first flew it, it was inside the house, and I dropped it onto the kitchen floor from, I don't know, about 50 centimeters, and it slightly cracked the base plate, and I thought, oh, this is just the beginning. But it hasn't got any worse. I've also put on some of these rubbery dots on the bottom just to prevent any future damage on hard landings. But you normally land on these anyway. It's just, you know, just to protect the Calyx Turtle board a little bit more effectively. The motors are actually reversed, so they spin away from the camera. So you can see there's a lot of grass and stuff. Those are from landings, sudden landings, because they're rotating so quickly. If you get a tiny piece of grass, it's instantly liquidized and spread inside your ducts. So you spend a lot of time scraping out the inside of the ducts. The dried grass doesn't help matters much, but it's still flying. I haven't broken any props. I've slightly bent one, and I've had maybe 30 flights on this so far. So I know that some people had problems with the props breaking or losing one very, very quickly. I think I've been lucky. Maybe I was just aware that there was going to be an issue, and I've been a bit more careful. I will fly with these other props, but for the moment I'm quite happy just flying with these ones. They keep the jello at bay. Even though one is slightly bent, I'm happy enough with it. What else? These props are hard to come by. I've seen them on BangGood, and there's a link in the description. I think you can also get the batteries from BangGood. I don't know whether they deliver to the UK anymore. There's some laws preventing LiPos being shipped to the UK, I think. That might change from time to time. I got these from Hobby RC and they were delivered next day, and I had to pay a courier charge. I think it was DPD did the delivery, and it was excellent. I was very happy with that. The batteries, I think I would go for a bigger 3S, or maybe even a slightly bigger 2S. So 450 is okay, but maybe a 500 or a 550 might be better for flight time, and maybe a 450 3S. But I don't think anything bigger than a 450 3S. I think you'd struggle. Okay, well, I think it's really nice, and thank you very much, BangGood, for sending me this to test out. I really enjoyed it. It took a while to come. The original one was sent out, I think, in February, never arrived. They sent another one, and it also didn't arrive for ages, got stuck in customs, but eventually turned up, and here we are. I'm delighted, absolutely delighted. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the video. If you like it, leave a like, and if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, or continue to subscribe, as some people might say. Bye bye.